All right, welcome back. Happy Friday. Aggressively Healthy Podcast with myself, Michael Ranfone, sitting alongside, and we're take you down the
Don't
kind
forget
of
Marcus.
health. Oh yeah, Marcus too, and the health and wellness track. So today we got a lot of topics.
Yeah.
We got some inquiries from people and some questions that were relevant to insurance companies and things like that. But for today's topics, I think that's a whole nother kind of avenue we can go down. So the supplement world, kind of overall healthcare in terms of implementation of nutrition and stylistic approaches and things like this are what we're going to go over today. So quick question just to kind of get it started. Well, first of all, how's your week? Pretty good?
Oh, it was busy. Full throttle summer now with kids.
Yeah. Tons of sports and
Summer
schools
camp.
out. Yeah, good. And in the kids' world, being sports related, right? It's already an interest in supplementation. So at the last practice we were at, one of the other fathers actually started talking to me about healthcare and all these other things. And we got into it, and he actually said, is there anything I should put my kid on? Now, we're standing next to a field with quote-unquote futures, right? These are kids between the ages 7 and 9 or 6 and 9-ish. And that father was asking about supplementation. So I guess from the very, very superficial standpoint, what is like a supplement to you? What does it mean?
By definition, or by my definition, a supplement is something that is deficient and or lacking in what you can get from your diet. And we've established diet is just what you eat. Or, in more specific contexts, it is something that you need more of because you use more of it because of the activities. So like sodium. Is it like if you sweat, you train twice a day in the summer, sweating all the time, you're probably going to have to look at your electrolyte balance a little bit differently.
Yeah, and the funny thing is we lose sight every so often about you are what you eat, but you don't make anything. Like we don't make salt. We don't make carbs. We don't make I guess we kind of do. We'll convert things.
But you still need raw
Without
materials.
putting something in your mouth, we have zero energy supply on our own. So what would you say to somebody like that now that you've explained kind of what a supplement is, right? Like we need to add things or give things back to the body that we're missing. What's kind of the version of what we say to somebody like that, right? Because that kid's about to start a life journey and he needs direction. And that dad clearly doesn't really know. He's asking. What would be good advice for somebody like that?
At that age specifically, it literally is, do they have enough fuel?
Right.
Because at that age, they're going through this huge developmental process, bones, their brain growth, like all these things are happening behind the scenes. Like if you see your kid grow 5 inches a year, the metabolic demand on that ask is enormous.
Yep.
And if they don't have the calories to support that growth, there then are deficiencies that come out.
Right.
Now, when you throw sports in the mix, especially a sport like lacrosse where there's a lot of running, it's in the summer, and they're probably at summer camp or playing at the pool. Like, kids, for the most part, are super active anyways.
Yeah, don't sit still.
You just take away that activity, and they need calories for growth, like we just talked about. So the thing that I would ask is, what are they eating? Because we might have to supplement energy sources via, carbohydrates are an easy one. So this is where things like, Gatorades or simple sugars come into play. Because it's something that doesn't take a lot of time to prepare or to even consume, nor does it take a lot of energy to process or metabolize those sources. So, fruits, Gatorade, bars, granola, cereal, like whatever it may be, like what are they most likely to eat that we know is in line with the activity demand?
Yeah. And so then my natural reaction, and it worked out pretty well. I said to him, well, like, do you take any supplements? Because he looked reasonably fit. Like you could tell he wasn't just a couch potato. And he's like, well, I don't. I really don't know what supplements to take. And that is kind of what sparked the next continuum of thoughts, which is where we ended up today, right? What are supplements? What are they good for? Which ones do we need? So now you have a father with a child, male, female, it doesn't matter, and they don't know for themselves what to do. They're not going to know anything about what to deliver. So a couple interesting statistics on supplements. About 57.6% of adults in the U.S. take at least one supplement a month. Women tend to take supplements more than men, with nearly 2/3 of women and around half of men consuming supplements. We will pick back up. Let's analyze that for 1 second. More women than men take supplements. Do we have any idea why? Do we think we have an idea why?
Probably part of it is because most of the marketing in the fitness space or the health space always is biased towards the quicker fix.
Yeah.
Marketing is
Everything.
it's brilliant, right? So that's why you see a lot of female specific supplementation.
Yeah.
And some that don't really care what gender you are. Like we talked off camera about, like there's protein supplements that say for women only.
Right.
And when you look at like what goes into those products, it's the labeling, it's the color schemes,
Yeah.
it's how they're saying the benefits are women specific. When there's nothing specific about a protein powder.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't care what your gender is.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Your biology does not know.
No.
It's a raw material.
Energy.
It's amino acid. It's building blood. Like it's irrelevant to what it's supposed to do. So I think there's a huge push on social media. When you look at influencers, the bigger influencers are more on the female side. So they're targeted differently, as well as some of the stuff that really brought you here from the professional. Like women are very underappreciated in the health space, in the medical space. So women are looking for information. They're looking for direction.
Yep.
And lo and behold, there is a marketing team out there that's saying, oh, well, look at these gaps in the medical space. Let's fill them with crap.
So that's it. I just was writing that down. And my analysis, right, is that if you have an entire medical community, that the minute a woman starts explaining her emotional, mental, how, quote unquote, she feels relative to what's happening in her experience, if you have trained these women so well as a medical community just to say to them, like, well, that's just how you're going to feel.
Yeah, you got to deal with it.
You back them into a corner so far with such aggressive, poor medical care, they feel so threatened by the hospital system that then they say, well, what else can I do? And even the world of medicine says, well, try supplementation.
Yeah.
So what do women do? Well, they turn and they walk into a vitamin shop or a GNC and they say, hey, I'm sweating at night. What can I take? And then it's like, right? A flood of information. That's a big shop with a lot of options. So now supplement use will increase with age, reaching 67.3% for men over 60 and 80% for women over 60. Overall, supplements are popular among Americans, with 74% agreeing that they are essential for maintaining health. Now, that's an interesting word usage, right? So an essential supplement. But really, everything we put in our mouth is an essential supplement. So now you've also smoke and mirrored a group of people being like, oh, that's exactly what I need, before they even start eating the piece of chicken, the vegetable, the broccoli, the fruit.
Yeah.
So this supplement world is filling that gap, like you said. Now we, as a medical providing facility, right, a new healthcare facility with a gym, exercise, nutrition, all of it under one roof, we're trying to fill that void too. So how can we really work with the supplement world, do you think, in good and bad ways to try to improve the experiences of our clients? Like, where do you use supplements for things you do?
Well, the first thing is like identifying the problem that you're really trying to solve for. And that doesn't happen without objective measures.
Yep.
So, the blood panels that you use are proprietary. They give you a very good snapshot of their needs, and creating a deliberate hierarchy of those needs for that individual in front.
Yeah.
So it's like I forget what the statistics were, but the majority of people will take a multivitamin. Well, does the multivitamin you're taking actually meet the needs of what you have?
Yeah.
So you can now customize their supplementation deliberately based on their blood panel, right?
And let me chime in quick.
Yeah.
This has happened to me now a few times. people will come in, I'll make their multivitamin. They'll get it in the mail. They'll look at the back of the package. They'll instantly text me and be like, my vitamin A is at 27,000% of a daily value. Am I going to die? The one I've been taking was only 150%. And
Right.
look at my numbers. So like your numbers came in low. You were at 150%. I'm putting you on more. How does that not compute? Right. But that's the gap
Yeah, right.
in the average necessity. So the custom vitamin, we can fill that gap. All right. Sorry. Back to you. So
No,
yes.
I'm just saying, like, so in that case, it's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'm taking a multivitamin,
Yeah.
doc. It's like, so you don't know if you need something. You take something anyways, and then you don't know if it's actually doing anything,
Yeah.
but you spend the rest of your life taking it. And then you actually develop some kind of, disorder, or
Yeah.
it's part of the problem. It's usually not just because your multivitamin sucks.
Right.
But that also goes along the line of like, well, I'm not feeling the way that I want. Maybe I need another supplement.
Yeah.
Maybe I got to take more vitamin C. But it's all because you don't know what problem you're solving for.
Right.
So if we're able to be a little bit more specific or targeted with the approach, people usually notice within, let's say, 4 to 6 weeks that there's a difference.
Yeah.
And that difference is usually noted as positive.
Right.
So in supplementation, let's say, and listen, a protein supplement can be because you don't get enough protein in,
Right.
and it's difficult for you. So now we're removing the practical constraint of eating another chicken breast, and you're just like, I can't eat anymore. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, take a protein supplement, take creatine,
Right.
something, and we're usually talking about things that like really do have a good ROI. And generally speaking, because of the resistance training you're doing, because of the cardiovascular demands you're under, and because of the goals that you have, these things usually do help you get 1% better
Yeah.
without relying or over relying on your nutrition status.
Right. Right. Now the driving factors, right? So there's always a push, and we can wonder, or we can just ask, right? So the data that was garnered from asking, so a census of, I guess, consumers of supplementation, to improve overall health, 45% made that statement. So that's a very generalized, broad stroke. Marcus, what's health to you? You got a mic? Oh, we're getting them mic'd up. The reason I ask is because, like, the definition of overall health, what does that mean? So health to you is different than health to me. It's different than health to Marcus. So when Marcus gets plugged in, it'll be interesting. I don't know. Maybe we'll hear what he says, right? Because this is a completely non-medical opinion, but somebody who works out, who wants to get healthy and whatever. So what do you think health is in your mind?
In my mind, it's moving your body, moving around, and feeding it the nutrients that it needs to do whatever that activity that you do every day. Whether it's whether you're a fighter, whether you're a doctor, whether you got to feed your brain, you got to feed your mind and your body as well.
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really good definition, right? And I think that's probably the walking definition of the non-medical professional. And I think that's a beautiful opinion. So you need to feed the body and feed the mind, and both are important. The next one was to maintain health, 33%. So, out of the people asked, maintain health. So they're not really looking to get better, I guess, per se. It's more like, how do I just stay where you are? Now, we comment on that a lot. What does that mean to you, maintain health?
So I think my mic just went out. The first thing I think about in those two statistics is that we're almost 3/4 of the reason why people take supplements is some way regarding health. And we also established that most of these supplements aren't doing that.
Right.
So again, where is the information coming that 77% of the people that search for supplements are really searching for a health boost or a preservation of health is because of the lack of information that is coming from the medical community for correct direction on what's healthy. Because we also know that this kind of is like you're majoring in the minors if you're just relying on supplementation for health, right? There are way bigger things that we can tackle here, but because 70-something% are thinking about their health and thinking that supplementation is the correct path is just goes to show what kind of deficit everyone's in.
Yeah.
When I think about why people are concerned about health is because they're thinking about the contrast, sickness, or aging poorly or not being capable anymore. And I think that's what really gets people to start thinking about what else can I do? Because they're thinking about this stark contrast of what maybe where they're at right now from a health status, and they don't want to lose it, right? And they think that reaching for a bottle or reaching for, a pill is going to be the thing that helps them, because that's also a very conditioned response in contemporary society.
Yeah. I mean, so much so to the point that supplement use goes way beyond what the consumer's eyes can see and what the details of the data the companies will allow you to see. Now, I am deep in data world in terms of biomarkers, right? The ashwagandha trend, I want to use that as an example. And everybody says, I take ashwagandha and my testosterone goes up. And that's an amazing thing. And I had a theory a while back, and I've now proven it to be true anecdotally. But I've started to see now a lot of these people taking the ashwagandha, and indeed, their total testosterone does go up. But it also promotes steroid hormone binding globulin elevation, which then blocks your total testosterone. So now you've gone to a naturopath, they've prescribed you ashwagandha, they've told you it's going to raise your testosterone, you listen, you take the ashwagandha, you go back, and down the road, and this is not every naturopath, I'm just using this as an example, down the road they retest your testosterone and it's elevated, and you say, oh my God, the ashwagandha worked. I'm now on my 4th to 5th one where the free testosterone is actually lower than when you started the ashwagandha because it drove the SHBG so high that your usable testosterone was relatively depressed. Things like that, without monitoring, go on for a long, long time with relatively irreparable consequence, because in that time frame, you're actually doing the opposite to yourself, right? And that's where the supplement world gets to me a little bit, because these improve overall health to maintain health, like Marcus said, fuel the body, fuel the mind. Like you said, the supplement so we can improve. But then behind the scenes, there's these like non-negotiables that if they're not monitored, we can end up actually doing more harm.
Right.
And that's why I think you need to be involved in a facility where that's happening, right? And here we don't let that happen. It's the advantage when you say, okay, Louise, you need to start doing more push-ups. Well, how can we prove that that's working? Well, we can prove it's improving your cardiovascular health with testing. We can improve with the supplementation. Did the supplementation work? Yes, we proved it with data. So I think the improvement of health is a big deal, and it's whatever it's relative to in your definition, but we need to be tracking measurements relative to what we're using. So health monitoring is what measurements do you want to follow? Now, if you play with the accounting, like I said with the ashwagandha, you can make anyone believe anything. The next type of thing, bone health, supplement the diet, prevent health problems, heart health, or to lower cholesterol. Now, that's a really good one. I like that. Boost immune system or prevent colds. I love that. Healthy joints and prevent arthritis. Interestingly, that came in at a 12.4% reasoning out of census. So to me, I thought that would be much higher, because joint disease currently seems to be a really big issue. Let's pause for 1 second. Do you get a lot of people coming into the gym with joint disease type issues, arthritis, joint pain, aches and pains?
I mean, I don't have the stats in front of me, but observationally, I would say 60 to 70% of the people that come in have some complaint of either a current issue with a joint or have had problems with a joint. Like you think about the prevalence of low back pain. If they were, an athlete at some point in their life, they might have a knee or shoulder or neck pain, something like that.
Right.
So I would say it's quite high. And the one thing I would just want to get back to, like every reason why people are looking for supplementation, and this is why I think majoring in the minors can be, not that they're not important.
Yeah.
But like what you put your stock into is going to have a better dividend at some point.
Yeah.
And like almost everything we talked about right now can be really addressed through proper resistance training, cardiovascular care, and nutrition. Almost everything.
Everything.
Because tell me something that resistance, what organ system or anything else in the body that isn't positively affected by resistance training?
Well, it was one of my Instagram posts this morning was a story I was lifting, and I just posted like, I'll help you get healthy. Like if I'm a regular doctor out in the world doing operations on sick people, here's my fancy car that I made off operating on sick people. But like healthcare is not that, right? We want healthcare to be defined by improvement of health or continuation of health or maintenance of health or appropriate progression where it might stem from, your joints hurt or your cholesterol, whatever. But that promotion of anteriorly heavy healthcare rather than reactionary. One big thing also was enhanced energy. Now, this came in really low on the totem pole, oddly, 10.8%. I will tell you anecdotally, every, 80%, 8 out of 10 people that walk in my office, their major complaint is energy. Energy is a big, wide definition. Your version of energy, my version of energy, whatever that means. But I think energy is a big thing. And here's why I want to talk about it. We always talk about why we need energy and how I feel and I'm tired and whatever. But if you actually go down and break that down, that goes down to a cellular level. Then we start talking about cellular health. And really cellular health, you don't know unless you do lab work, right? So lifting and promoting muscle growth will increase mitochondrial density, will increase metabolic demand, will change your metabolism. Yes, metabolism is a changing thing. It is never stagnant. But the energy is a base, right? So do you get a lot of people that come in and say to you, I want to feel more energetic?
Yeah, totally. And part of it is like when people describe or use energy as a thing that they're searching for or looking to enhance, it's usually because they're so unfit that they just can't get through the day. And I wonder if people realize caffeine, like if it was like, hey, how much caffeine do you take or how many coffees do you drink a day to find energy?
Yeah.
I bet those numbers would be vastly different.
Because they're leaning on it. Yeah, they don't
Correct.
even realize.
Yeah, right. So they already are supplementing.
Yeah.
They just don't perceive it that way or define it that way. But yeah, I think, apart from, if you're injured, if you're overweight and your energy levels, we're talking about the same thing for the most part, or it's the same profile of that avatar that is searching for improvement.
Yeah.
Because it's usually not just one thing.
Yeah.
It's a constellation of different things, and someone might emphasize one more than the other. Like, oh, my back used to hurt, but it doesn't. But I don't have the energy I used to anyways.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and energy, like you said, goes down to the cellular level. But energy, how we actually get energy is proper nutrition.
Yeah.
Which, that's what a calorie is.
Well, it was maybe a month ago. I was somewhere speaking with somebody about this health system and everything going on. They're like, you and Mike are really brilliant with coming up with that idea. And I was like, yeah, thanks. And I walked away and I'm thinking, like, brilliant. It's as if we went back to like Neanderthal times. Truly, it's like we're just trying to get you to eat healthy, eat a piece of chicken, balance your hormones. Don't let the world tell you metabolism isn't adjustable. It is. Like if I sit still like this, I'm burning less calories than if I do this. So I just changed my metabolism. Right? Like, I don't know how you can't argue that. It's a different use of energy. Inside my cells are using things differently. Physical health, we talk about a lot. But the new, younger adults, mental health, vulnerability, all these weird topics are starting to come out in this world of 20-something-year-olds, right? So what do we think about this rising popularity in mood and health supplements? And one thing that comes to mind is, I don't know as a kid if I ever even knew like what magnesium was, right? And I never knew people using magnesium as a sleep aid. All of a sudden now magnesium's become this like go to bed thing, or melatonin. It's everywhere. Melatonin, magnesium. Great. But what's causing us not to fall asleep, right? Like we are not smart enough to actually know like, this thing, maybe after 7 p.m., just put it away.
Yeah.
And then you don't need the magnesium. So trends like that. What's your take on the mood, mental health, the whole kind of reinvigoration of like the well-being movement, but with supplementation?
It strikes me as odd that like especially the 20, let's say 25 to 30-year-old is now having a lot of issues with mood and emotion and maybe even depressive symptoms and stuff like that. Like when I was in my 20s, I was like, life is awesome.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing that, like obviously we were trying to figure out who we were and figure a career path and all that stuff, but everything was so much about the exploration of what could be that I was never concerned with I never had that feeling of like.
And you know why? I think when you were in college, you were at Union and I was at Yale, right? When we were out with our friends, say we were in a dorm room in 2000, we were hanging out, we were involved with the person across from us. This didn't exist, right? Think about that. So when you were up in Schenectady, New York, in the cold, windy days, but with your buddies, having a good time, you were having a good time.
Yeah.
And you couldn't look on your phone and be like, oh, there's a 20-year-old who sells chocolate and he's in Thailand on $1 billion vacation. Shit, I should be doing that.
Yeah.
You were like, this wind is spectacular. Let's eat more Doritos, right? You were involved where you were. This thing has like altered reality, right? Like it's completely bombed that age group. And now anxiety as a 20-year-old, like you should be purely excited.
Yeah,
about the future. Fearless. Like my 30s are going to be great. I'm just learning the skill set to make a living, to earn. Like you should be excited about the future. So it's kind of sad, and it's a little ode to our lack of leadership. And I don't know which generation kind of forgot to tell the next group of people, hey, you got to struggle a little bit to it's going to hurt. Like your 20s and 30s are not a this should be easy, but you should embrace the beauty of it being a little difficult because the 100%. End result is amazing.
Well, I think you hit the nail right on the head where it's like all of a sudden where adversity comes into play, it's always looked at like I'm doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Or, even in the entrepreneurial space, it's like if you're working hard, you're doing it wrong. It's like hard work is the goal.
Yeah.
It's like, do you like, and like, they're going to be bad days. They're going to be sad days. But like, that's not a bad thing.
Right.
And, if you do spend your life looking at other people's highlight reels on Instagram or social media, you start to think that if you're having a hard day, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
And that probably does not help with like the inclination to be a little bit more anxious or depressed or whatever else it may be.
Yeah.
But like, just know that that's just part of life.
Yeah.
Like that's what literally the average means. It's like you have great days, you have bad days, and like everything in between, but you wouldn't even appreciate the great days unless you went through hard days.
Yep. And I think, the 20 to 30-year-old contingency is tough, but above that, the gym and the exercise arena is a really, really wonderful mental health tool, way more so than supplementation, right? So you have these gummies for anxiety, energy boosting solutions, things to get these age group kids to like get their motivation up and going. But that should be deeper rooted. And I think culturally, if we get away from that electronic desire where it was less driven by the video game TV type thing and got people moving more, I think, mental health would change drastically. Because I don't know, as a 20-year-old, I didn't really know many like depressed people. Like there were people that were upset or a little bit like less excitable than others.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a whole lot of friends that were like majorly in the dumpster by just being surrounded in an environment that was quote unquote anxiety provoking. But nowadays it seems tough to escape that.
Yeah, maybe that's because of the actual social construct.
Yeah.
Because it was in person. There was a greater sense of connectivity or support, or that, hey, if you were in med school, all your friends that were in med school are going through the same shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you took comfort that it wasn't just you. You weren't on an island. You weren't alone going through or feeling these things.
Yeah.
And you're like, you know what? We're going to get through this together.
Yeah.
And it almost becomes that's the normal.
You embraced it.
Year 2 sucks.
Yeah.
Get ready for it.
But it was awesome.
And you weren't shocked.
No. And I think if you like the process of learning, health is another avenue, right? And the way to do it, and I guess this brings it all into a little bit of a consolidated statement. You got to find someone you trust to lead you down the health journey. Meaning, if I go to you and I trust you, Mike Ranfone, with my workout, my nutrition, everything, which I do, I can't start questioning, right? And I don't mean that in an unhealthy way. I mean it in a, as long as you prove to me you're well informed, I should let you worry about my exercise and nutrition. And in the health world, we really need to promote that, right? And as a physician, I want to regain the trust of our consumers. And unfortunately, part of that is breaking the belief a little bit in the system we have right now. But if you really get down to it, if you come speak with me, even if you're a doctor, lawyer, consumer of healthcare, anybody who has some thought on how the health industry should work, this is a very good approach to keeping people away from the hospital. And I think that's why we're here, right? We're not trying to tell you that other trainers or exercise scientists or nutrition experts or dietitians are bad. I'm not trying to tell you surgeons, doctors, they're not bad. They're in a system that's not set up for healthcare. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. If you want to get healthy, you have to experience healthcare at its roots, which is what we're trying to provide you.
And it's just by asking Marcus like what his definition of health is, I think it is important for someone to find alignment with those who they surround themselves with.
Yes.
So if you truly believe that health comes via a pharmaceutical and seeing your PCP once a year,
right,
and you're actually, there's no sign of sickness or, lack of well-being, then I can then support your decision.
Right.
But if you are unhappy, if you're unfit, if you don't like what you're getting and you're continuing to go back and doing the same things, my question would be like, do you really think if you extrapolate over the next 5 years, your results, would you be happy if you're not happy now?
Right.
So, and that's where, like, again, like we say this all the time, that we're not necessarily for everyone. We're not trying to be everything to everyone.
Yeah.
But we are looking for the people that have a higher expectation of maybe their own standard of health and the care, guidance, support that they're looking for.
Yeah. And I also think we're building a pretty good data set on if you do follow the Ranfone system of healthcare, we have amazing results, right? Like we've got people building muscle in their 60s. We've got people experiencing GLP-1s with muscle gain and weight loss. We have people just losing weight. We have people just gaining muscle. We have people walking without a cane now, ×2. We've got prostate cancers we've caught. We've got surgeries we've trained people out of needing, right? Yep. And if you really try your best and at root cause health, there's a benefit. And totally. Really the cost, benefit, risk interaction at a place like this, there's zero risk. Like you will never leave here lesser health-wise than you walked in.
Yeah.
Right? Pending like you drop a plate on your foot. Great. But true health, you're going to get the benefit. Should we game it? So we're doing a little bit of, I don't know if anyone's ever heard Never Have I Ever, and we got Cards Against Humanity. But we'll start with Never Have I Ever. This could get good. Marcus, you can chime in. Are you live?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Who's live right now? Marcus and Mike?
Yep.
Oh, I'm live.
Oh, we're good. Have you ever started a serious, never have I ever started a serious fire?
I don't think so.
Me and a friend who you know very well from the local neighborhood lit the Walgreens front entire row of bushes on fire one night on Saturday. God bless you. I've changed.
Never.
Accidentally drank something with trash or a cigarette in it. Yeah.
Oh, I've college
wounded soldier.
Yeah, bad.
Marcus?
I've probably eaten like a bug before by accident.
Down by the beach, boy. Forgotten to wear sunscreen, passed out on the beach, and looked like a lobster. Yeah.
100%.
Yep.
All day.
I got my armpits burnt so bad one time. If you've ever gotten sunburn on your arm,
yeah, not good.
Fell asleep, hands behind my head. Bad news bears.
This one's good, and I don't even have to answer it. Everyone will know the answer. Cursed during an interview. Yeah. All day.
I don't think so, no.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It's part of my vocabulary. Worn the same underwear twice in a row.
Yeah.
Come on. I had a roommate in college that used to steal underwear out of my used underwear.
That's disgusting.
Correct. Graffitied. No.
No.
Have you?
Mm-mm.
You've never graffitied?
No.
How'd
I
you
know
make-
people
like a
who.
big
How'd you
graffiti
make
guy.
that fucking T-shirt? That's graffiti.
I didn't make it.
Isn't graffiti in The Lion King? Or no, it's Rafiki. Created a drinking game. No.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
Called Drink. Borrowed my roommate's underwear. Never.
Nope.
I would never share underwear. What is it? Underwear, toothbrush, socks. Girlfriend. Cursed or flipped off a driver that cut me off. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, of course.
All day. Slapped some cash to the maitre d'. Little tip action.
Of course.
Donated sperm.
Nope.
Watched porn on a work computer.
No.
Had a couple of drinks and then shared confidential information related to work. Never.
Nope.
Mm-mm.
All right, we'll end on this. Gotten poison ivy from having sex outdoors.
No.
I don't think so.
I'm not allergic to poison ivy. God bless. Adios. We'll see you next week.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. Oh, yeah. Happy Father's Day.